tests in the past, haven't you?
That's right, I have.
And on each of those hundreds of tests, you observed the subject before the test was conducted, didn't you?
Either myself or the arresting officer.
And you afterward observed the result of the test, didn't you?
That's right.
And based on those hundreds of tests, when Miss Dawson came into your office on the early morning of the 25th, you thought that her blood alcohol concentration was likely around the legal limit of 0.08, didn't you?
Based on Miss Dawson's behavior, I anticipated that she exhibited a moderate level of intoxication. So yes, around or above 0.08.
And you were surprised by the 0.19 result, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Now, when you conduct these tests, you follow a standard procedure, don't you?
I do.
And part of that standard procedure is something called the pre-test observation period, isn't it?
That's exactly right.
And the purpose of that is to make sure that there is no mouth alcohol in the subject's mouth at the time the test is taken, right?
That's true.
And that could be caused by indigestion, right?
Indigestion, burping, or vomiting.
And the pre-test observation period is supposed to ensure that for 15 minutes prior to the test, none of that happened, correct?
That is true.
You only personally observed Miss Dawson for 5 minutes before that test, correct?
That's right. I only observed Miss Dawson for 5 minutes. However, the arresting officer observed her for over 20.
Now, the arresting officer made those observations during the car drive to the police department. Is that correct?
That was from the time he finished administering those field sobriety tests up until he handed Miss Dawson off to myself.
So he was driving, correct?
Not the entire time, sir, no.
But during the 20-minute car drive, that's when the observation period took place, isn't it?
No.
It did in part, though, correct?
In part, yes.
And it was pouring down rain that night, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And to be clear, it was dark, correct?
Yes.
And Officer Foster was driving in the front seat of the car, wasn't it?
Yes, I know how this must sound, but seeing as I wrote the protocol, I wanted to make sure that officers are properly trained to know how to observe someone. So the officers are instructed not to have their radios on and have the subject sit since they will be cuffed. So their mouths are almost against that steel plate in the back of the squad cars. So officers can accurately listen for burping, belching, and hopefully not get vomited on the way to the police station.
Despite your surprise at the results of the test, you didn't conduct a blood test, did you?
No, I didn't.
And a blood test could have confirmed what Miss Dawson's BAC actually was, couldn't it?
It could have, but I determined what her actual BAC was by my Intoxilizer 8000 test.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time. Any direction?
No, Your Honor. May the witness step down?